Hello and welcome back to another episode of Other Duties as Assigned. I'm continuing to use my time wisely and have a chance to talk about another connected topic here today as I'm waiting for a track meet to start up for our son. As I sit here, it's really telling that, just kind of always reminds me about the seasons of life. Life is always busy, it seems like, but finding time to get things done allows you to have more time to spend with your family. Allowing me to record this podcast right now is going to give me a few extra minutes later tonight to maybe read a book with our kindergartner or spend some time with the rest of my older kids and my wife, and just be able to have that time together. And I think that's a good reminder as we look at as our job as administrators, as educators, finding those times for those extra minutes. We talked about that with AI, trying to help to reduce some of that extra workload. So today's topic is about the summer. It's summer, summertime, and the living is easy. But for administrators, a lot of times we still are doing a lot of work. There's a lot of heavy lifting that still has to happen in the summer. And it's not a change necessarily to what we do, but the pace changes. There's no more bell ringing that reminds us that we need to go do hall duty. There's no more lunch duty that we're off to in the middle of the day, or bus duty to wrap the day up. You lose some of that schedule to your day, but you still have to be purposeful. And as I get ready to prepare for my first time as a principal of my own high school and that responsibility, it's kind of made me think a little bit more about what I need to do. And I think the things that I'm taking away are just having a plan for the summer. A lot of times in the past, my summer has been my summer where I've just kind of gotten my stuff done and allowed everybody else in the office to do their own things. But what I realize is, now I need to make sure some big rocks get moved during the summer. And so you got to lead those big movements while you're still supporting the work that you need to do individually. So as I think about that, I think about having a plan for my days, both for how, all right, I've got these, I've got 15 days in June that I'm having, that I'm working. Okay, what are those 15 days? Are there some of them that are have some required meetings, maybe some training I have to do? We do a retreat as a district, so that's got to be on my agenda. Some of those kind of things, I definitely am going to factor that in, and then I'm going to look, okay, of the remaining days, what needs to get done? What are priorities? What do I need to do with our team? What do we need to sit down and talk to? I started an agenda back in January for that meeting, or those meetings, it's going to be several, and trying to come up with a plan for that. And I've already shared that agenda with them so they can start thinking about it. And then we talk about how do we plan, that moving forward. Do we need to collaborate maybe with the middle school? We often sit down and talk about incoming freshmen, and they can give us some backstory, some information, so we can do a better job supporting them. And then, I'm just going to map those days out. I've already started that, but I'm going to be a little more intentional here with 2 weeks to go in the school year of kind of picking out what do I want to have accomplished each day. What are some of the tasks that I've done in the past that maybe I can hand off? What are some of the tasks that I want to have, leave for myself to do in July? And you have to build in time for the unexpected. The last minute teacher has to move out of the state, or perhaps a last minute retirement, and now you've got to add a hiring process into your summertime, which is doable. I've done it before, but trying to come up with that plan I think is really important too. I think as you think about those individual day plans, hey, these are the big ideas, here are the big things I want to get done this first week of summer. Then what does my individual days look like? Like I mentioned at the beginning, there's no bell schedule, there's no lunch duty, so you do still need to have a routine. The nice thing is the pace slows down. There's also no student discipline to deal with. There's very few parent phone calls. There's very few, teacher meetings that you have to have. And so, your days are kind of your days, which is an unusual thing for an administrator. So I think, having a plan for your day. Hey, we're gonna meet as a team for an hour. We're going to talk about these couple topics, or we're going to touch base about the work we're doing and support each other. And then, all right, then I'm going to go work. And I'm lucky in our building to have multiple places to work, so I think I'll probably vary it a little bit. I may go sit in a courtyard and do, respond to email, or I may go sit in our new media center and do some work, just so I can kind of get some variety, to get up and get moving. If I have to have maybe the middle school principal and I need to meet about some things, I may say, hey, let's go for a walk. Let's get out, walk the trails around the building or something, to kind of get some fresh air and build that into my schedule. I think those are all really important things, and I think those are some of the luxuries of summer work. We're still in the office and we're still doing all those things, but we're also making some time to work on those other things. And it's a time, to build your team a little bit, to have some conversations and to have some fun and to laugh and to do those things together when you're all in the office together. I think, as you think about, some of those kinds of things, I think you have a plan. For me, our summer is broken up into two pieces. We have a 3-week moratorium break that we take as a whole administrative staff. So I'm going to plan, kind of what work is going to happen in June before that, and then what work is going to happen in July after that. This year, coming back in July, we got 2 weeks and we're at it with kids and teachers. So, I've got that work is going to have to be super intentional. And also June needs to be intentional, so I leave appropriate amount of work for July. I'm transitioning into a new office. I'm, doing some of those other things that are just going to have to work their way in and kind of make time for. I think with my daily schedule, maybe it's an hour of packing my office every day in June, and it's an hour of unpacking my office every day in July, perhaps. But you have to have a plan for those things, and I think that's really important. And I think you have to remember the breaks. So if you have a mandatory vacation, or you choose to take a vacation for a certain number of days or weeks in the summer, those need to be breaks. There's a reason you have those in your schedule, in your contract. It's to recharge. And so take time for that. I think one of my favorite parts of the summer is the day ends at 3 o'clock and there's nothing else. There's no events to supervise. I love going to events. I love cheering on our kids and seeing them compete. But man, there's something about getting in the car at 3 o'clock and going straight home. And I can get a little bit of this done, or I can get the grass cut before dinner, and I can do, or maybe we can take a walk as a family, or go to a park, or maybe, get out and go to the zoo or a baseball game or whatever. And I think that's an important piece too, is, enjoy those times. That makes your summer feel longer when you take advantage of that extra time off. But when you have that week's off, whatever that vacation is, do your best to not check your phone and email. But I try to do it one time a day. I think I'm a check my email every 10 minutes kind of guy right now, and I'm going to work on that next year. But I think if I say when I'm on, for us it's going to the beach, I'm going to check it, first thing in the morning or last thing at the end of the day. Deal with whatever needs responding to, and know that it'll be there in 24 hours when I come back to it. I think that's important. That doesn't mean, like I said, I've had a resignation while I was on the beach. We had to deal with that and sort through that, and I was able to do that. It wasn't the end of the world. And we found a great staff member in July, and that was awesome. And our team, came around that and solved that problem together. I think the other one that I would add to that list is just thinking about, recharging, resetting, kind of investing in yourself, your health, your family, and then trying to carry that into the school year, right? Be intentional about that time and go, you should enjoy it. And then think about, okay, how do I find this time in August and September and October when you need it? And I think that's a challenge that I would give everybody in the summertime, is take advantage of your time and then figure out, how do you capture some of that during the school year to take care of yourself. As always, that's one of the most important things for me, is finding that balance, working really hard, but also finding that time to recharge and reset so you can work really hard. You owe it to yourself, you owe it to your students, you owe it to your families. and to your family to be the best version of yourself. That's how you become a good administrator and somebody that everybody can count on. Thank you for tuning in again. I went with the AirPods. Hopefully that the audio quality is good enough outside, but man, it's too sunny and beautiful to sit inside and do one of these. So thank you again for tuning in. We'll continue with some more episodes. And don't be afraid to go back and catch an old episode if you haven't watched one. There's some great ones about preparing for the school year. There's some ones about supporting new teachers, hiring new teachers, AI and the administrator. Great episodes. Follow us on social media, Other Duties as Assigned, and all that contact is here at the end. And reach out if there's ever any questions or you want to have some conversations. I would love to do that. Thank you. Have a great night.